Ginsler,
Yes.
Ridsdale,
Yes.
Judd,
Yes.
Freidenberg.
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully we get our other participants back here in a second. Yes. Ridsdale. All right, so. Okay, so now I got my YouTube going. Sorry about that. The next thing on the agenda is to open the public hearing regarding the micro business at 120 Grand River.
Paula, can I interject real quick?
Yes,
Is there an intent to name a chair tonight?
yes. I was
Okay.
kind of hoping that we would the mayor was going to chair it until we get to the point on the agenda where the chairman is. Now.
Okay, I'm trying to think, before a planning commission takes action on a public hearing item, we have to go back to the root of the state statute that says that every planning commission must elect a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary.
Oh, well, I guess we need to back up then before we do anything else.
You as the city clerk can take care of the administrative provisions, but before we get into an actionable item, I would
Okay.
suggest we have a chair in place, and that can change later on in the meeting. But even if someone hands over the administration of the hearing to you, since you have the agenda, there still should be a named chair.
Perfect. Well, that was supposed to happen, but it hasn't yet, so.
A city clerk can take care of the administrative provision.
Who did I just let in the meeting? Is that you? I think we might have got Anthony back. Can you hear me, Anthony?
There's a delay.
I don't think he can hear me.
Look at how long it is between you and.
Okay, so we need to have a chairperson, so somebody want to step up to do that? Alan.
Fine. That's fine. I'll be your chairperson.
So I
You're
need a
good, man.
motion. I need a motion.
I motion Alan.
I'll second that. Freidenberg will second that.
Who was the motion?
Sorry, Ridsdale.
Thank you. He's the phone. Okay. So we have a motion by Ridsdale and a second by Freidenberg to make Ducastle the chairman. Can I have a roll call vote on that? Ducastle,
Yes.
Culpepper, Appicelli.
I think he needs to turn on his speaker.
I don't think he can see or hear. Giesler,
Yes.
Ridsdale,
Yes.
Judd,
Yes.
Freidenberg.
Yes.
Okay, so Alan, you can now chair the meeting.
Oh, boy. All right. Next thing on my agenda then is public hearing for 120 West Grand River micro business. Any discussion?
So what we need is a motion to open the public hearing.
Judd, I motion to open the public hearing.
Freidenberg will second that.
Thank you. Roll call vote, Ducastle,
Yes.
Culpepper, Ellie, Geisler,
Yes.
Ridsdale,
Yes.
Judd,
Yes.
Freidenberg.
Yes.
All right. Now the public hearing is open and we'll leave that to Pete. Mike, somebody.
I'll let Mike go ahead and give the staff report.
Sure. So, yeah, I'm happy to provide a brief summary of the staff report. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review it. Yeah, this request is from 120 West LLC for a marijuana micro business for property located at 120 West Grand River Road. The property is zoned C1 Central Business District and is located on the north side of Grand River Road between Church Street and Crum Street. The site is currently developed with a structure that was previously utilized for retail and office purposes. Contains 132 feet of frontage along Grand River Road and is approximately 66 feet from the nearest intersection of Grand River Road and Lang Street. So the applicant is requesting special land use and site plan review approval for a micro business, which permits the applicant to cultivate not more than 150 marijuana plants, process and package marijuana, and sell or otherwise transfer marijuana to individuals over 21 years of age. So the daily retail hours are proposed to be from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. Growing hours are proposed to be from 8 a.m. to noon. And the applicant estimates that there will be between 4 and 6 employees and is also proposing 7 total parking spaces. So as mentioned before, this property is zoned C1 Central Business District. Land uses east and south of the site are primarily commercial, whereas those north and west of the site are primarily single-family residential. We did ask that the applicant provide some additional information on the proposed signage, and they did provide us that information. So hopefully everybody got a chance to look at that as well. There's a sign graphic on there and a brief description of it. So the applicant is proposing to use the existing 2,208 square foot primary structure for this micro business. They intend to remodel the structure and also construct a fence along the northwest and south property lines. So the access to the site is going to be the same. There's no major parking improvements that are proposed. They are proposing 7 new spaces at a 90-degree angle and 1 barrier-free parking space. They're also proposing to retain the green space that exists right now in between the current parking area and existing fence to the east on the eastern property line. Yeah, and you know, the Planning Commission should absolutely discuss the proposed landscaping, as that's generally a good method to mitigate potential impacts of the use. Really, those are the major comments from our staff review. They seem to meet the special land use requirements. That concludes our staff report here. Happy to discuss any other issues the Planning Commission might have as they come up.
So I'm going to chime in here. New, if I go off what I shouldn't, just holler. But some of you know, Gail and I have a place with my dad up in Everett, which is just west of Clare. They have one of these facilities. They're right on 10, kind of downtown. And where I'm going with, looking at the proposal, it says there are 7 parking spots. Based on the crowds we see at that place in Everett, 7 parking spots is not going to be enough. So they have about, I would say it's about similar size building, and they have parking on 3 sides of that building, and quite often they are full. So. And tell you the truth, this is Ridgedale. That was my main concern too. Would there be enough parking?
this is Freidenberg. How many parking spots are already there?
7? 7 or 8.
And are they talking about doing 7 more, or is that in total?
No, that's in total.
Yeah, I believe
The
it's
picture
total.
shows
And then-
that's in total.
Okay, that's what I was trying to
And
find,
then-
and I couldn't find it real quick.
If you look
Well,
on the
another
main
thing too is
picture,
And another thing too is there's 4 employees, so they're up to 4 parking spots taken.
Now, there are spots out on the street
right,
right in front there. I don't know, I don't remember how many, but it's got to be 4 or 5, but still, I mean, it's going to congest that area is what it's going to.
Mike and,
Not saying
Mike,
it's a bad thing.
want to talk about our parking requirements in downtown for businesses, like, for instance, you know, the dance studio, there's never enough parking for the dance.
right.
There's never enough parking for the hardware store or the restaurants. That's why we share parking in the downtown district.
Yep, absolutely.
Before we get
Any
going too
business
far-
that's in the C1 Central Business District is allowed to utilize the city parking for their business, up to 50% of their parking requirement currently. So.
And before we get too far, maybe we should allow Mr. Liskey, if he has a presentation prepared, because we can do the staff report and then hear, maybe that's part of their presentation concerning parking, and then move along with the specific questions from the planning commission. And I would, and
Hello?
after he presents, and I imagine Mr. Liskey presenting.
Can you call in on the phone?
Mr. Liskey, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, there's
Are you
a phone
folks,
number
do you
at the
folks
top.
have a presentation planned tonight?
Yes.
Okay, what I'm suggesting is that Mike has given his staff report, allow you folks to give your presentation.
Or the other
Ask
one?
for any public comment, if there's any, and then go ahead with the planning commission to
Yes.
raise their concerns about particular.
No, just dial the number and we'll let you in.
Okay, shall I wait for Paula?
She's here.
Should I
Here.
begin? Should I begin now?
Yes, I would, just so that we can kind of round this out with the staff and the applicant, and then the
Okay.
planning commission can ask you specific questions.
Well, for those of you that are new on the commission, let me introduce myself. I'm John Liskey. I'm a lawyer and I'm representing 120 West, which consists of my former wife, Rhonda Liskey, and my son, Roy Liskey. I also am the owner of the real estate. The name of the title is a corporation called Energy Consultants, Inc., in which I'm the sole owner. But before I even do that, I sent everyone a booklet. And so I'm hoping that everyone got one, because we can, when we start talking about parking or whatever, we can refer to certain page numbers in here if you have it handy. Let me first explain, again, for those that have not heard our previous discussions, what a micro business is. It's much smaller than a dispensary that you might have, that you may have seen elsewhere. The micro business is really intended to allow the small guy to get into the business. It allows a grow facility of up to 150 plants and a small retail space. So let me address the plant growing first. At no one time would all of the plants be flowering at one time. It would be more like a maximum of a third, say 40 plants in the flowering room at one time, or coming to that stage of their growth cycle. And that's important because, and we'll get to this a little later, the concerns about odor. So I wanted to mention that all up front. Currently, if there is a licensed caregiver in the city, anywhere in the city, they can grow up to 72 plants in their home without, simply with a license from the state. no licensing requirement from the city. So this is a little bigger than that. And given that this business will be in business year round, again, there won't be more than, say, 40 plants that are in the flowering stage at any one time. And then I want to also give a little background to those of you new on the Planning Commission. So back in January, when the Planning Commission recommended to the City Council to amend the marijuana ordinances to allow a micro business, that's when I went out and purchased the real estate at 120 West Grand River. And then the very next thing I did was talk with Bob Ford, who I'm sure you all are familiar with, and asked him to help prepare the site plan and the special use permit application that you have in front of you. And I also asked Bob to build a team of experienced people that have experience in the marijuana facility space. And he introduced me, and we retained Roger Donaldson, the architect, and then the engineers, Mike Baker and Quinn Myers from Matrix Engineering. And they are also on the call tonight and will speak a little later. Before turning it over to Bob Ford to talk about the site plan specifically and parking and so forth, I also want to mention that we are very concerned about being a good neighbor and are designing the building to have maximum odor control, because I know that was important to Pete Preston and others who have commented previously. Our target market is really rural areas of Clinton and Shiawassee County, essentially between St. John's and Laingbsurg and Owasso and Laingbsurg. We don't really see many people coming from Lansing area, maybe from Durand and Perry. But again, the design of a micro business is kind of like a fine wine vineyard. I mean, we really are positioning the product to be different than what somebody might find in other bigger stores. Let me see if I had anything else. I guess just to address parking real quickly, there are 6 spaces on the street right in front of the building. And we certainly can have the employees park at one of the city lots, either down by the post office or behind Gail's building, or elsewhere. And part of the economic development, as I understood it, was to bring people into Laingbsurg. So even if customers have to park somewhere down the street, that's good, I hope, because hopefully they'll frequent other businesses. So having said that, let me turn it over to Bob Ford, who's going to talk about the specifics of the site plan. If you want to turn to pages 22 through 25 of the booklet I sent, he can go through that, and he can also discuss some of the schedule that is contained in our plan. So Bob, can you take it from here for a second?
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Bob Ford, I'm with Landscape Architects and Planners. We've been living in the community for some 35 years now, and have worked with the city on a number of projects in the past. On our design team is Roger Donaldson. He's the architect who's working on the building, and Matrix Engineering, who is helping us with the airflow, pressurized systems within the building, all of the electrical services. And they've been doing this for a number of years. They've put in over 65 of the installations across the state. So they're very familiar with the laws, and they're very familiar with the code, to meet those requirements. Well, turning to the site plan, we're going to be using the existing driveway, curb cut onto Old Grand River Road, so there'll be no change there. The parking lot is about the same. We've increased the size ever so slight, 4 feet to the east. That we've done that is to be able to allow the proper turning configurations within the lot. It was a little shortchanged before, so we've brought that up to code. We've installed or proposing to install a concrete curb along the west side of the lot. And the reason for that, right now the drainage goes that way. So we're trying to intercept any of that water and divert it down to the catch basin, which is in the front yard of the building. We'll create a little spillway off the curb and direct that water into the yard area, and then it will leach into the basin. So we are getting a little bit of infiltration prior to it reaching the catch basin, which is more of a sustainable design item we're trying to maximize best we can. And as was mentioned earlier, John has opted to preserve the green space to the east of the parking lot. So that'll still be lawn. There's also an existing fence that's on the east property line right now. That was put in there years ago. It's a vinyl fence. It's a rather attractive fence, solid. And that is going to be matched and expanded so that it'll go along the north property line, east-west, and then along the west property line, north-south. And then also a section will be along Grand River Road. So the ability for people to see into the site is going to be limited. There's also going to be a small trellis that's going to be put right next to the doorway, which is on the east side of the building, that allows people, that'll be where the customer enters. And that will also block some of the views. So it's going to be pretty hard to see who's coming and going without, going into the site itself. The dumpster is located, as you can see in one of the exhibits, to the north of the building. There's conveniently, there's a nice little area back there that is part of the property where you can kind of tuck that dumpster around the back. So it'll be pretty much out of sight. But in addition to that, we are conforming with the requirements of putting a screen around. So to really have a double screen, there'll be a screen immediately around the dumpster that meets city ordinance. And then there's also going to be the fence, which is going to screen the entire property from the adjacent neighbor. So screening should be pretty well provided for. As John mentioned, when it comes to parking, I think we've met the ordinance in terms of the number of spaces required. But there is also the street parking, which should help on some of the overflow. The plants are going to be limited in number, so the quantity of product that's going to be available is also going to be limited, so that maybe it'll even out the traffic flow just due to the amount that might be available at any given time. So that's something to consider. There seems to be adequate lighting on the site already. There's a light over the entrance, which will be the customer entrance, and there's a light over the employee entrance, which will be on the south side, which used to be the main entrance when it was the hometown video. That's where the employees will enter and exit. When you do have deliveries of various kinds, if parking is filled, there is adequate space to park a van temporarily in the aisleway between basically the customer entrance door and the south end of the building. And the turning movements allow all the vehicles to be able to move in, turn around, get out. That unloading would only occur rarely, but when it does, it would be there for about a half an hour maximum time, according to John. So that's how they plan to handle that. In terms of signage, the building itself has or used to have a sign, which was in the upper right-hand corner. It was about 3 foot by 5 foot thereabouts, and was lit, has electricity to it. So they're going to use that existing signage area for their logo and address, put that there. The ability for employees to enter the south end of the building, they will not have any contact with the customer, totally separate area. And if you can look at, I think it's page 26, the architectural plan, there's a, it's color coded. So there's a green area in the center, basically the center of the building on the east side. And there's a vestibule, a bathroom, and then the retail sales area. And that's where people will come in, purchase their products, and then leave. It's about 391 square feet. The rest of the building wraps around this area and acts as the grow area and also how they're processing the plants, getting it ready for sale. So there'll be complete separation from retail to the actual manufacturing or processing of this. And there's security cameras throughout the building and the interior and the exterior. And of course, that's mandated by state law. So all of those cameras, records, video will have to be maintained. And it's a pretty high security system that they are proposing to install here. So there'll be some landscaping on the outside of the building. There are some plants there that we intend to retain in the planter bed. And then we're going to add some additional plants so that it will be a little bit more colorful in terms of landscape design. So as far as the schedule goes, the SUP, of course, has been applied for, and the Planning Commission meeting is now. If we get approval of this evening, it would be hoped that it would go to City Council on May the 4th. And if we were to get approval at that time, then we would begin to finish the bid documents, which are about 90% complete now, and reserving some review time or any changes that we might have to make before going out to bid or securing contracts with the contractor. Have to make the, John would have to make the application for the micro business license and submit it to the city June 1. And during the month of June will be used to evaluate the construction bid. Hopefully in July, the city grants the 120 West its license so that it can start business. And then once he has that in hand, he'll begin to secure, award the contracts to the contractors. So it takes approximately 2 months, work through August, all of July, August, and then sometime in September, it would be hoped that we could open for business, get local inspectors in there, and then do a grand opening in October. So that's roughly the schedule. I'll now turn it over to Quinn and Mike from Matrix. And as I said, they're experts in this area, and Quinn with the handling the different types of pressurization within the building and elimination of odors is a primary concern when you're in this environment. So I'll let you guys take it over.
All right, hi everyone, I'm Mike Baker with Matrix. I'm part of the electrical design team for this project. To give you a little background here on Matrix history in the cannabis industry, so we've designed approximately 70 to 90 different facilities across the state of Michigan and outside the state of Michigan. Anywhere between like a 8x10 greenhouse all the way up to a 500,000 square foot interior grow facility. Quinn and I have gone to several city meetings and met with planning review people in the past to talk about extraction, the different kind of processes and stuff like that, to answer any questions that you guys may have on the mechanical and electrical and plumbing side of the project, so what they may pertain and all that stuff. And so, like I said, I'm electrical, so I'm going to turn it over to Quinn, and he's going to talk more about the odor and climate control stuff.
So I'm Quinn. I'm the mechanical and plumbing engineer on the project. And so I guess I'll just kind of jump into, the odor control, seeing that was one of the big concerns. So with odor control throughout the 2,000 square foot facility and the outside surrounding area being one of the owner's largest concerns, Matrix is providing a mechanical design to accommodate and maintain the odors in a strategic way throughout the facility. John has specifically requested additional odor control in the facility that surpasses code requirements. Did I hear something? Okay. To avoid cross-contamination of odors throughout the facility, the mechanical design will include 6 independent zones with a centralized exhaust system. The zones are configured in such a way to best accommodate the use and occupancy of each room in the facility. The mechanical design will include positive and negative rooms, which allow for forcing air from one room to another within the same zone. For example, the 2 entrances of the building will be positive, with the adjacent rooms being negative, to create an airlock at each entry. The airlock helps maintain the odors that may be present in the facility from leaving the building when the door is open. Additional odor control is provided in the grow and bedrooms due to plants solely being located in these rooms throughout their entire life cycle. To maintain the odors in these rooms, the mechanical design will include independent furnaces serving each room so the air does not transfer from one room to another. 2 additional carbon filters with fans, otherwise known as air scrubbers, will be placed within each room to continuously run and remove odors. The grow rooms will have 31 air changes, or the grow room will have 31 air changes per hour, and the bedroom will have 32 air changes per hour. To put these numbers into perspective, an average office building will have 6 to 8 air changes per hour, or a commercial kitchen will have 14 to 18 air changes per hour. To avoid odors being leaked out of the facility, a centralized exhaust system with carbon filters will be installed to remove odors prior to the air leaving the building. The centralized exhaust system removes air from several different zones to accommodate the ventilation requirements and building pressure. I'm not sure if there's any questions in regards to the filtration or anything like that.
I have one question on the Mike Culpepper, the mayor, having all kinds of difficulty seeing and talking with you folks tonight. Now on the fan system and the air filtration and so forth, if I'm not mistaken, with all that equipment in there, of course, I'm assuming it's state certified to meet the needs that you request or say it will do.
Yep.
But I guess my real question comes in, what if we don't like what we smell after you put all that in? Other than the fact of us, saying, hey, this ain't good. Is there more that you can do if it's needed?
So I guess to put it this way, nothing's 100% guaranteed. The system that I have installed, the filters, brand new, when you put them in, they're at 95% efficient. The airflow going across has to be hit at a 0.2 second ratio, where it's basically grabbing all odors from the air. Additional filtration can be added. We're not pulling any exhaust any exhaust to the outside will not be coming from the grow rooms themselves. They'll be coming from common areas such as corridors or the bathroom, different areas like that. The actual filtration, which would be handling most of the odors, would be that separate system inside each grow room. There's 2 air scrubbers in there, and we have 2 of them in there to provide redundancy. And if there is any problems, we spoke with John about this. If there is any, if any neighbors or anybody has concern or notices anything, the filters typically, I talk with our rep very frequently. Typically, the filters need to be changed out once a year. If people notice things a little bit sooner, the filters can be changed out more frequently. But from past experience, we have not had any problems with this system.
Okay, well, that's pretty much where I wanted you to get, is what kind of history you have with that system. I know it's fairly new as far as what's going on in this area, but so you've answered my question as far as what I wanted to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
If there aren't any more questions, can we get a motion to close the public hearing?
I have one, sorry. Just a couple quick, really simple things. So
No,
you're
that's
just gonna leave the grass as grass, right? That's your plan? The next to the parking lot.
Yep.
Also, are you putting the fence line like right on the property line, or are you gonna go in more or out more? Or...
So can you all hear me? This is John.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We wanted to get a survey done of where the property line is, but because of the governor's order, we can't get a surveyor out there yet. But so I wanted to kind of find out where the property line was before I answered that question. And Bob Ford and I have discussed it. My thinking is that if you're concerned about the, I guess, the north property line, so towards the back of the building, it doesn't make sense to jog it along the property line, but instead run it straight. But at this point, I don't know how else to answer it. I guess
that's fine.
we haven't got that far yet.
Right. All right.
So Dina, the ordinance does allow our fences to go right on the property line.
Right. I did read that. I was just curious what his
Okay.
preference was. Yep.
We don't have a preference at this point.
Got it.
I guess
Okay, are there any more questions?
But the only other thing I was going to add is if parking does become a problem, we could come back to you and ask to make the entire grass area, expand the parking lot. But that would be a good problem for us. But we do not anticipate that at this time.
Okay.
Well, this is the mayor again. We do have a lot of city parking space. I mean, for employees to park. I know sometimes it's inconvenient, but if you need an extra spaces that, I did hear the comment that 4 employees at one time taking up 4 spaces, but.
Yeah.
There is municipal parking behind Boondocks and Twilligers.
Yeah.
And there's
You just have
Roosevelt
to walk
Row.
across the street.
Right.
And during the daytime, and most times, there's not going to be a lot of cars back there except lunch hour. So, but anyway.
Okay. Any more questions? Then can I please get a motion to close public hearing?
I move to close the public hearing.
I'll second Ridsdale.
Got it.
Who closed it? Okay. I didn't know if you were writing them down too, so.
Yep, sure am.
Do we need to do a
Okay.
roll call?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Newcastle,
Yes.
Culpepper,
Yes.
Appicelli,
Yes.
Geisler,
Yes.
Geisler,
Yes.
Ridsdale,
Yes.
Judd,
Yes.
Freidenberg.
Yes.
Okay, public hearing is closed. Can we get a motion for a special use permit?
I just asked Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, there was, comments in the public hearing, and usually, it's open to the public, anybody can ask, but I'd definitely ask if the planning commissioners themselves have any more questions for the applicant, and then before you go into a motion, if there's anything outstanding by any of the commissioners here that they'd like either Mike or I to address, whether it regards parking, odor, or any of those things, allow the planning commission to ask those questions at this time, if you could.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your.
But based on that, Mike or Pete, on what was said, this is the mayor again, what was said on the venting systems and the systems put in, are you familiar with those at all?
No.
Or close to?
No,
Not at all, okay.
We've seen some different systems, but what it really comes down to is whether these, you can't guarantee 100%. The licensing and the ordinance require 100%, no odors perceptible. So the city may itself have to invest in some measuring devices itself, but your initial issue, if you're the first one through the door doing this, growing within the city, you are going to most likely by perception be the ones causing any odor right away. So that's something that we're all going to have to address together, but the licensing has a 0 odor tolerance level.
Okay, and you said what I thought you were gonna say as far as the city has full control over if it doesn't comply to that, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. And if I could allow Mike real quick to address what the ordinance says about parking, because since I've been working with the city for about 10 years, and I don't think we've had anybody meet the ordinance requirements on site except for Dollar General. But that's because they had the space.
And it should be.
That's well noted.
Yep. Particularly an issue within that C1 business district, but it should be noted that we calculate our parking requirement based off of a usable floor area. So when you look at the site plan that's on page 26 of your packets, all of the white stuff that's on there is not going to be within the calculation for parking spaces. It's only going to be based off of that 391 square feet, which puts us at 2 required off-street parking spaces. So they really are exceeding that. Yeah, that's where we're at for parking. But yeah, there is a shared parking clause within the C1 district that allows up to, I believe, 50% of off-street parking requirement to be met with city parking spaces.
If I understood what you said then correctly, that by the square footage of the building, they exceed the parking that is really required.
You're correct. They exceed it.
Okay. That's why I know we have a problem with everybody and not meeting, but that's okay. I'm done, I think, with questions myself.
Me too.
If I can make one more comment regarding that, this is a special land use. So it is a use that is permitted in the ordinance that is considered to have unique characteristics. If any of the planning commissioners believe that there's unique enough characteristic to this, such as was mentioned by Mr. Giesler, that the parking may be overflowing, you can add as one of your conditions that if parking becomes a problem, that the planning commission has the right to re-review it when we look at special land use or even licensing renewal by the city. We get a lot of these in some rural areas that start up that they only allow one license in more urbanized area or a village. Therefore, it draws from a lot of people to one particular place. However, the city has opened it up for other licenses, so we expect some competition. So we don't anticipate this to be the only game in town eventually.
Right.
Should have muted me, Paula.
I still can.
Okay, do we have any more discussion or questions? Then, can we get a motion for a special use permit?
Judd, I motion a special use permit,
Second.
a micro business.
So, in the back of your packet was, or your staff report, there's a recommendation, a recommended motion, and that will be the language that I would use. So it's Judd, and who was the second? I'm sorry.
Papicelli.
Thank you.
Tony.
So in the, so the recommendation is, I'm just gonna read what the motion is that we want on record, if you agree with this. It's that the planning commission recommends approval to the city council for the petition for special land use and final site plan for the use of property as marijuana micro business as submitted by 120 West LLC for property located at 120 West Grand River Road in Laingbsurg, and as legally described in the petition based on the following reasoning and conditions. 1, the reasonings set forth under section 704 basis of determination and article 8, section 837 appear to be met, subject to the conditions set forth below. And as I understand it, we're not setting any conditions. Those standards set forth under section 605 final site plan requirements and section 6 standards.
Oh, Paula, you got muted.
I wish that was me doing that.
Yeah. Casey.
I must have talked too much. I timed out. Okay.
I did it
She's
again.
muted.
Again.
Is that Cassie?
Yeah. What the heck, Brown? Okay, I think I'm good now. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we having fun yet?
It was in your packet, that, all that stuff. And so then item number 3 is any condition reasoning as set forth by the planning commission. So, there'll be no conditions? Is that what we're saying? Oh, he's muted.
Oh,
Mike,
Yes,
there are no conditions, is that correct?
I don't know at that point. As I missed so much, I don't know what has been
Okay.
discussed so much.
Dina,
I don't know.
In your,
No, there's
We didn't
no
have
conditions
anything
listed
specific.
unless the planning
We
commission.
didn't have
come up
any.
with something.
correct, so
Right.
there are no conditions. So now we just need a roll call vote.
Okay. The motion was made by the same two, Dina and Napicelli.
Yes. I
Okay,
got
just
the
wanted to see.
minutes, Mike, I got the minutes. I'm doing it. It's fine. That was just to help you get through the meeting.
Oh, I know, but I was just asking to make sure that was who made the motion and stuff as far as my part of knowing it was done.
Newcastle,
Yes.
Culpepper,
Yes,
Appicelli,
Yes.
Geisler,
Yes.
Ridsdale,
Yes.
Judd,
Yes.
Freidenberg.
Yes.
All righty. Looks like we have a special use permit.
All right.
I didn't hear that.
I didn't either.
This goes on to city council, correct?
Do we have any
Yes.
other business to attend to this evening?
Well,
And then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
He's quick. He's like, I want to go.
Yeah, he's over it.
Do we want to do another chairman or are we sticking with Alan?
Yeah,
What's the plan there?
Oh, we voted our chair in. That's Alan.
I know, but it's still theirs. I just wanted to know if that was a official sticking. So,
Alan won, lucky me. Okay, so motion, can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
A motion to adjourn.
10 for me.
I second the motion to adjourn. Judd seconds the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Thank you.
meeting adjourned.
Hey, John, are you still there?
Thank you.
Yes,
Is John still there?
yes.
Yeah.
Hey, John, this is Dean. That was a very nice site plan, by the way. Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much.
All right, everybody else set?
Yeah, you guys have a good
Yes,
night.
ma'am.
All right, good night.
All
Thank
right,
you.
have a great night, everybody.
Bye.
See ya.